Hello guys, welcome back to our anime explainer. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Swallowed Star 2 origin continent based on novel. So let's start. On the frontier of the flame-wind ancient country, Xiangja City, Garrison Mansion. Greetings, Garrison General. A vast throng of subordinates bowed respectfully, without exception. Luo Feng sat in the main seat, with Morosa, Moyu Qingyang, and the primordial ancestor standing to one side. In typical cities, the roles of city lord and military commander are held by two different powerhouses. However, if a transcendent of the primal chaos realm garrisoned a city, they would typically hold all authority. Upon the news that Luo Feng, the first to transcend the primal chaos realm, was responsible for garrisoning Xiangja City, preparations to receive him had long been made within the city. From today onward, he who formerly served as deputy guardian of Xiangja City, Luo Feng said, looking at those below, his orders are my orders. Do you all understand? Understood. Not a single subordinate raised an objection. Search * the novelia.net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Take your seats, Luo Feng nodded. This large group of subordinates included more than 300 eternal true gods, and over 1,000 true gods of void space who held important positions. In front of Luo He, the first to transcend the primal chaos realm, all they needed to do was obey. After the banquet had dispersed. Primordial ancestor, I'll be depending on you for the many affairs of Xiangja City in the future, Luo Feng said, walking side by side with the primordial ancestor. I have many illusionary avatars living different lives in the land of origin, the primordial ancestor replied with a smile, and now, to manage a large city, is yet another identity. It suits my cultivation well. By the way, your disciple Moyu Qingyang can also become more involved in the city's affairs, the primordial ancestor suggested. Experiencing more will also serve as heart-honing. Okay. Luo Feng smiled. I haven't really taught my disciple much myself. It's all been you guys teaching him. Moyu Qingyang's talent was indeed quite ordinary. After becoming a true god of void space by following the law lineage, progress became even harder. After discussions between the primordial ancestor, Morosa, and Luo Feng's final decision, Moyu Qingyang had transitioned to the bloodline cultivation system. With Moyu Qingyang's talents, if he solely followed the path of laws, to become an eternal true god in this lifetime would be quite an achievement. Following the bloodline cultivation system, with the support of Luo Feng and Morosa, becoming an eternal true god would be relatively easy. There was even a sliver of hope for advancing to the primal chaos realm. The true body of the primordial ancestor is indeed indistinguishable from his illusionary avatars, Luo Feng thought as he watched the primordial ancestor leave. Whether the one who accompanied him to Xiangja City was his true body, or an avatar, Luo Feng did not have the confidence to discern. Now, his true body and illusionary avatars were outwardly indistinguishable. The same physical body, the same aura. Primordial ancestor, if it were not for the oppression of the primordial cosmos, with his strength, he would have probably succeeded in passing through reincarnation long ago, Luo Feng mused. With a step, he entered the hidden Great Hall deep underground. Within the hidden Great Hall was the world entrance to another realm. Luo Feng looked at the world entrance. Now with array talismans in place, he could, using the formation, prevent primordial bloodline creatures from escaping. This world harbors a large population of primordial bloodline creatures, Luo Feng's eyes burned with fervor. Guarding Xiangja City for tens of thousands of eras would typically earn roughly 1 million merit points. But since Luo Feng was here as a punishment, he naturally wouldn't receive any. Losing 1 million merit points did not concern Luo Feng. Primal Chaos Realm creatures with primordial bloodlines are relatively weak, perfect for my research. Having conceived the concept of the Trinity form, Luo Feng naturally wanted to study the vastly stronger 10 Directions World Form life structure next. The Golden Scale Beetle was a Primal Chaos Realm creature with a primordial bloodline, one of the most perfected among them. A single corpse was worth 1 million merit points. However, as a guardian, there is a strict prohibition against stealing primordial bloodline creatures, or slaughtering them. Luo Feng was aware of this, a severe decree. The formation sealing that world was always recording all scenes. Stealing, slaughtering primordial bloodline creatures were grave offenses, far more serious than killing a few of Yang Su's avatars. If it's merely a scuffle, a beating, it's not an issue, Luo Feng said with a smile. Since the primordial bloodline creatures routinely fought and struggled among themselves, which also promoted the evolution of their bloodlines. I'll just frequently give those primordial bloodline creatures a beating, make them behave and allow me to study their blood, scales and feathers. They should find that acceptable, Luo Feng pondered. The materials from a single golden scale beetle corpse were not enough. More materials were needed for more extensive research. Xiangja city's nights were equally bustling. Since the news spread that Luo He, the first to transcend the primal chaos realm, was taking charge of guarding Xiangja city for an era, many forces began to invest more into Xiangja city. Several family branches moved here to take root, and the prices for cave mansions within the city soared. Being able to live safely for an era is a luxury for many cultivators, Morosa said from the tower of the garrison mansion, looking over the city. Luo Feng nodded. Although true gods have a lifespan of 30,000 eras and the true god of void space even possesses limitless lifespan, in the land of origin where conflicts and struggles are rife, cultivators can easily become unintended victims. The years one truly lives tend to be much shorter by comparison. Even for great families, they would branch out and root themselves in different cities. After all, if they were to gather in one place, they could all be wiped out in an instant should they be impacted by the clash of some terrifying entities. Luo Feng sensed something and turned his head to look to the side where a bald figure made of light was condensing. The bald figure smiled at Luo Feng. Being looked at by the other party made Luo Feng feel as if he were being stared down by a terrifying monster, one that could crush him at any moment. Even though his true self possessed 9 billion black rivers, he felt completely incapable of resisting the other. Luo Sa, you stand down first, Luo Feng instructed. Yes, master, Morosa looked at the bald figure and felt a tremble in his heart. Very terrifying. Morosa could feel that even if he exploded with all his might, he would be thoroughly annihilated by the other party, not leaving even ash behind. This was definitely not a power that one at the first realm of Godly King could possess. Luo He, the bald figure stood there, smiling at Luo Feng. I am the Walker, the Deputy Palace Master of the Twin Realms Palace. I've heard that in the Twin Realms Palace, the highest positions are the Palace Master and the Deputy Palace Master. I didn't expect the Deputy Palace Master to personally visit me today, Luo Feng exclaimed in surprise. As one of the most influential forces in the land of origin, the status of the Deputy Palace Master of the Twin Realms Palace was self-evident. The bald figure laughed. This also represents the importance the Twin Realms Palace places on you. You are the first to create a secret technique and achieve transcendence of primal chaos realm. With such perception and potential, once you become a Godly King and accumulate a little, you will be at the invincible level of the first realm of Godly King. At that time, you can become an official member of our Twin Realms Palace. Invincible level of the first realm of Godly King. Luo Feng understood as well. Many godly kings, even if they train to the limit of their inheritance, are far from touching this level. For example, mastering the first calamity of the 8 tribulations life form, gives strong life-saving abilities, but the prowess in direct combat is just considered extremely strong among godly kings. Mastering the first volume of the Extermination of 72 Blades yields fearsome destructive power, but it's too weak in other areas to be considered invincible in the first realm of Godly King. Invincible in the first realm of Godly King. Comparable to the ordinary second realm of Godly King, it's enough to be a dominant power in the land of origin, which is also the threshold for entering the Twin Realms Palace. So we came to invite you in advance, and you can first become an outer member. After becoming a Godly King, you will soon be an official member, the bald figure said. In our Twin Realms Palace, besides me and the Palace Master, the identities of other members are unknown to each other. When gathering, it is in the virtual world of the Twin Realms Palace that our thoughts meet, each by a code name. We unite to break the monopoly of the 2 ancient countries over many resources, said the bald figure. Monopoly. Luo Feng listened. You are a transcendent of primal chaos realm, and don't currently pose a threat to the godly kings. Therefore, the godly kings of the flame-wind ancient country are quite friendly to you, said the bald figure. But once it involves their interests, they'll bare their fangs. Luo Feng listened, and he certainly knew that the struggle between the 13 branches of the imperial clan was fierce. What is the most precious resource in the land of origin? The bald figure asked. Is it the resources brought back from outside the braided cage by the primogenitor Yang Feng and Thunder primogenitor? No. It's the resources left by the primordial ancestor. The resources left by the primordial ancestor. Luo Feng was shocked. I have personally received guidance from the primordial ancestor, which was my greatest fortune. The bald figure looked at Luo Feng. The primordial ancestor left quite a few resources in the land of origin, but the majority of these resources have been occupied by the 2 ancient countries. We cultivators who are not of the imperial clan, if we don't unite, won't even be able to snatch the remaining parts. The bald figure looked at Luo Feng. You are a direct disciple of Emperor Chu, but is it useful? The resources of the imperial clan in the flame-wind ancient country can only be distributed to the imperial clan. Non-imperial clan guest elders must make contributions to exchange for resources. Even for the most important resources, they will not exchange them despite the contributions, the bald figure said. But these resources left by the primordial ancestor are for all cultivators. Of course, we are qualified to contend. Luo Feng listened. You should have noticed that there are very few godly kings who join the flame-wind ancient country completely, said the bald figure. Luo Feng acknowledged this point. Many guest elder godly kings maintain the status of guest elder while still setting up divine kingdoms and establishing their own forces outside. There are indeed very few who completely join the flame-wind ancient country. You should be able to see that there are 13 emperors in the flame-wind ancient country and 9 monarchs in the thunder ancient country. But, becoming emperor or monarch, only members of the imperial clans of the 2 ancient countries can, said the bald figure. All cultivators from other races, including the direct disciples of primogenitor Yang Feng and Thunder primogenitor, haven't reached the strength of emperor or monarch. Why? Is it because their talent and insight are not enough? It's because the resources that can make one an emperor or monarch are only given to the imperial clan. The bald figure looked at Luo Feng. I can tell you that the resources left by the primordial ancestor include some for godly kings and below. Luo Feng was intrigued. The godly kings and below could also access the resources left by the primordial ancestor. The Lai Yuan technique should be considered as such. But have you had access to them? The bald figure looked at Luo Feng. Will your master Emperor Chu give them to you? He won't give them to you. Because he has no authority to do so. The resources of the primordial ancestor are the most precious, and the core must be given to the imperial clan. Only the more peripheral ones will be given to you, so-called direct disciples, the bald figure said. Don't believe me, you can go ask your master and see what he says. I can tell you that every transcendent of primal chaos realm in the imperial clan has the right to enter some of the domains left by the primordial ancestor. The bald figure looked at Luo Feng. As the first among the transcendents of primal chaos realm, you haven't even heard of it, have you? Regarding this matter, you can also ask your master. Emperor Chu's disposition, he won't hide it from you. As time goes by, as you become a godly king, you will understand, said the bald figure. These are not secrets. As the bald figure spoke, he casually threw out a talisman. Once you've thought it through, you can crush the talisman at any time to become an outer disciple of our Twin Realms Palace. I can promise you that as long as you agree to join the Twin Realms Palace, I will immediately send you to one of the domains left by the primordial ancestor. In our Twin Realms Palace, we believe in equal status for all, cooperation with each other, and fair exchange. But the first opportunity you get to enter the domain, consider it a gift from me. Luo Feng received the talisman and said, I'll think about it. The bald figure smiled and nodded, then dissolved into nothingness without a sound. Luo Feng stood alone on the tower, overlooking Xiangja city at nightfall. He looked down at the command token in his hand, contemplating every word uttered by the deputy palace master Walker from the 2 realms. Once I join, they would send me to a secret location left by Yuan. Luo Feng was indeed tempted. He carried an inheritance related to Yuan, the Lai Yuan technique, and naturally, he desired similar opportunities. Still, Luo Feng remained vigilant. The Two Realms Palace claimed that all stand at equal status, cooperating and exchanging fairly. But were the spoken words necessarily true? Best to ask Master first, Luo Feng thought. In Chu capital, within the palace of Emperor Chu, Luo Feng went to see his master that very night. The deputy palace master Walker, from the Two Realms, came to invite you. Emperor Chu sat there, nodding in acknowledgement. The Two Realms Palace acts swiftly. You're merely a transcendent of primal chaos realm, and they've already extended an invitation, even offering you a chance to enter a treasure site. That's quite a grand gesture. Luo Feng listened. If Master calls it a grand gesture, then this opportunity must be significant indeed. What he said isn't wrong, Emperor Chu nodded. The resources of the two ancient countries are mainly allocated to the imperial clan. Those not of the imperial clan need to exchange merit points, or pay a certain price to trade. Luo Feng understood, the deputy palace master hadn't lied. It's a rule set by the ancestor, Emperor Chu continued. The ancestor commanded that after meticulous selection, the treasures he brought back could be used to focus on cultivating elites within the clan. Thus, the clan's elites enjoy numerous benefits. The dukes of the imperial clan get a fair share, and the godly kings of the imperial clan receive even more. This incites envy among many godly kings in the land of origin. But the ancestor stated that powerful individuals not of the imperial clan, the ancestor would grant them opportunities to exchange for inheritances, exchange for resources. However, they must be through the exchange of merit points, or other fair trades. There can be no free gifts, exchanges must be fair, Emperor Chu said, smiling at Luo Feng. Even if you are taken as a direct disciple, to gift anything of value to the disciple, the master must bear the cost. For instance, the resources I gave you, or even the inheritances within the godly king range you'll exchange for in the future, such as the extermination of 72 blades, or the 8 tribulations life form, all come out of my own pocket. Luo Feng understood. Both ancestors believed in fair exchange with those not in their own families. There would be no free resources. Thank you, Master, Luo Feng expressed with gratitude. Both those inheritances, particularly the content at the ultimate realm of God King level, amassed a cumulative cost of hundreds of millions of merit points. So, the help I can offer you is limited, Emperor Chu remarked. Plus, I owe the clan a hefty debt of merit points. Owing merit points to the clan? Luo Feng questioned, confused. Indeed, the resources left by Yuan are allocated to some extent, Emperor Chu explained. However, if one wants to apply for additional, exceedingly high resources beyond the clan's allotment, that's considered a debt. I applied for an enormous amount of resources to become an emperor. The ancestors are willing to exchange fairly with other cultivators for the resources needed to become emperors or monarchs. But the other godly kings of the land of origin simply can't afford it, said Emperor Chu. That's the real reason why only the two imperial clans have emperors and monarchs. Being in debt, I must carry out many missions, from which I cannot excuse myself. The resources left by Yuan are extremely valuable. Claiming a portion means I must repay the clan, until my debt is fully settled, Emperor Chu stated. The 13 bloodlines of imperial clan emperors lay claim to the land of origin's most precious resources by strength, but they all end up repaying the clan. Except for Emperor Qing, the other 12 emperors are in debt to the clan, explained Emperor Chu. Emperor Qing has some authority to bestow the Yuan's resources owned by the clan to his disciples. But we 12 emperors don't have that power. Luo Feng now understood. You are my disciple and a guest elder of the Flame-Wind ancient country, Emperor Chu said. Unless the ancestor personally invites you with sufficient promises, you have no need to fully join the Flame-Wind ancient country. While joining might offer some benefits, it would greatly increase the restrictions on you. For a powerful godly king, it's better to remain free. I understand, Luo Feng nodded. Master, should I join the Two Realms Palace then? Do not join, said Emperor Chu firmly. Luo Feng was puzzled. Across the entire land of origin, although the imperial clans of the two ancient countries are powerful, there are more godly kings outside of the imperial clan in number, Emperor Chu explained. They indeed have the right to contend for Yuan's resources and thus have formed forces of varying sizes, both overt and covert. There are three major covert forces that you shouldn't join: the Two Realms Palace, the Wanfa Tower, and the Time-Space Lonely Boat, Emperor Chu warned. Why shouldn't I join? Luo Feng inquired. These three covert forces are likely established by an alien race, Emperor Chu disclosed. By alien race, I mean cultivators from beyond the braided cage. Luo Feng was shocked. Alien race? There's no need for concern. The alien races are suppressed by supreme rules, and any technique or power they display is limited, unable to exceed a certain boundary within the primal chaos realm, Emperor Chu explained. Once limited in power, no matter how profound, they are at best a somewhat more troublesome first realm of godly king. Luo Feng breathed a sigh of relief. Their true strength should be beyond that of the ultimate realm of a godly king, said Emperor Chu. That's why even if it is a weak avatar that descends into our realm from the vast primordial space, a first realm godly king that can't be killed outright, with its inscrutable and bizarre methods still brings much trouble to the two ancient countries. What are they doing in the land of origin? Asked Luo Feng. The resources left by the ancestor, Emperor Chu replied. You may not be fully aware of how precious the resources left by the ancestor are. They are resources that even those above the ultimate realm of a godly king still covet. I do not want you to join those three major alien race forces because, firstly, the aliens are those most eager to obtain the ancestors' resources, and with all your actions under their surveillance, the aliens will be your direct competition. Secondly, who knows what hidden risks there might be after prolonged contact with them. For example, those so-called Dual Realm Palace, Wanfa Tower, and Time-Space Lonely Boat are secret treasures that transcend the ultimate realm of a godly king. Is there a hidden danger in allowing one's mind to enter such places over time? It's difficult to say. Emperor Chu looked at Luo Feng. As for other powers, you can join any that you prefer. I understand, Master, Luo Feng thought to himself, having made up his mind after learning that these three powerful forces were established by alien races. Some godly king's second realm cultivators, who have lived for an exceedingly long time, might place their trust in their own strength, and in pursuit of breakthroughs, choose to deal with the alien races, making pacts with tigers, so to speak. But Luo Feng was young, and there was no need for him to do the same. Although there are several sacred places left by the ancestor, very few of them are accessible to those in the primal chaos realm, Emperor Chu said. Perhaps only these three major forces have the boldness to directly offer you a chance to enter. Luo Feng nodded. Indeed, no pies fall from the sky. The better the pie appears, the bigger the problems. Who could have imagined the Dual Realm Palace was backed by an alien race? Let me think. Emperor Chu sat down, thinking rapidly. Now that the resources of the land of origin had long been clearly divided, acquiring resources without using force was difficult. And Luo Feng, just transcending the primal chaos realm, could not compete for resources with those ancient beings. In the primal chaos realm, if you want to gain a great opportunity left by the ancestor, other than cooperating with the alien races, there's only one strategy one can think of. Emperor Chu had an idea. What strategy? Luo Feng's eyes lit up. You should know that the border of the two ancient countries nurtures various heavenly and earthly treasures, which the cultivators from both realms of the ancient countries vie for, Emperor Chu began. These competitions are usually confined to the primal chaos realm. And you are from the primal chaos realm. Even better, you are the top of those who have transcended the primal chaos realm, the absolute best, Emperor Chu looked at Luo Feng. As one from the primal chaos realm, it's in accordance with the rules of the two ancient countries for you to compete for resources scattered throughout the Thunder ancient countries' borders. Luo Feng nodded. The border between the two countries is very long, and many heavenly and earthly treasures are nurtured there, said Emperor Chu. I will send you all the information about the maturity times of these treasures, and you will go and compete for them time and again. Each contest over these treasures will be valued at a few thousand merit points. But in one era, you should be able to compete over 100 times, and that amounts to several 100,000 merit points. In 100 eras, that's several tens of millions of merit points. In 1,000 eras, that's several billion merit points. Because each treasure nurtured by heaven and earth is generally worth only a few thousand merit points, it's unlikely that a godly king will personally intervene for such small gains, escalating it to an emperor-level war. Emperor Chu looked at Luo Feng. If you continue to compete consistently, with your overwhelming strength, you will succeed every time. After you've contested a few dozen times, the Thunder Ancient Country will realize the seriousness of the problem, and they will come to negotiate with you, Emperor Chu continued. Then, you can demand a slot to enter the sacred place left by the ancestor. As a guest elder of the Flame Wind Ancient Country, you can't act against your own. So you act against them, make them feel the pain, and coerce them into granting you the opportunity, Emperor Chu smiled. This is the only strategy one can think of. Thank you, Master, Luo Feng's eyes sparkled. Transcending the primal chaos realm, with realms all below that of a godly king, naturally makes it very hard to increase one's strength. Like the current top 5 transcendents of the primal chaos realm, the differences between them are minuscule, it's only their methods that vary. And in this era, there appeared someone like Luo Feng, turning the battleground where the primal chaos realm of the two ancient countries once contended, into Luo Feng's sweeping harvest field. Go, said Emperor Chu. As he watched his disciple depart, Emperor Chu sighed quietly to himself. He wanted to help his disciple, but his own means were also quite limited. He could only give a bit of his resources to his disciple. As for the precious resources left by the ancestor, he had no authority to allocate them. In the end, he could only devise strategies, allowing his disciple to fight for them with his own abilities. The border between the two ancient countries is really long. Standing aloft, Luo Feng started to take action following the strategies laid out by his master. The two ancient countries occupied the most essential parts of the land of origin, and the areas where their borders met were the central regions of the land of origin. Many heavenly and earthly treasures were nurtured there, only that these treasures also had their growth cycles. They only needed strict guarding when they were ripe. Search the novelfire.net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Strict guarding. With the help of formations, how many can stop me? Luo Feng's body was carrying no less than 90 billion strands of Black River. Let's begin. Used to the customary struggles of the primal chaos realm at the border, from this day onward, Luo He, the number 1 transcendent of the primal chaos realm, also joined in. This video will end here.